Have you ever lain awake at 4 a.m., replaying a conversation from 3 days ago, editing what you said, scripting what you should have said, and just not being able to stop? Or notice that even when you finally sit down to rest, your mind doesn't? You replay conversations, you think about what you forgot, you anticipate problems before they happen, you mentally rehearse tomorrow while still worrying about yesterday. And from the outside, it can look like you're handling everything, but internally, your mind and body feels exhausted. If you're someone who overthinks constantly, you might wonder, what's wrong with me? And the answer is nothing. You are human. Most of the time, overthinking is the mind trying to prepare and protect you. So I'm Elizabeth Cronin, a psychologist and a mindfulness meditation teacher. And today I want to talk about what's really going on when we get caught in overthinking. So first, it helps to understand this. The human mind is designed to think. Now, I know that sounds obvious, but many people think about mindfulness or they try to meditate, assuming the goal is to eliminate thoughts entirely. But your brain produces thoughts the same way your lungs breathe air or your mouth secretes saliva. Thinking is what minds do. The real issue is not that we think. The issue is that we get stuck inside our thoughts and start treating every thought as true, urgent, or important. And we live in a culture where competition prompts us to feel the pressure to keep up or to be the best. So, naturally, we become planners, caretakers, problem solvers, anticipators of everyone's needs. We learn to scan for mistakes before they happen. And while that can make us incredibly competent, it can also train our nervous system to stay in a constant state of vigilance. So even during moments of rest, the mind keeps going. What if I forgot something? What if they're upset with me? What if things go badly? What should I have said? What do I need to do next? The mind keeps trying to solve a problem that may not even exist in this moment. So one of the hardest things about overthinking is that our thoughts are so convincing. We hear our thoughts as our own voice, and it's easy to think that we're getting guidance on what we really want to do. Especially when the thoughts are repetitive, the more often we think something, the more true it can begin to feel. But there's something mindfulness teaches us. A thought is not a fact. And this sounds simple, but learning to recognize that distinction can genuinely change your life. You can have the thought, I'm failing, without actually failing. You can have the thought, they must be disappointed in me, without that being true. You can have the thought, I'll never figure this out, only to figure things out just a little bit later. The mind generates stories constantly. Some are helpful, some are not. And overthinking often happens when we become fused with those stories instead of just observing them. One reason overthinking becomes addictive is because it creates this illusion of control. If I think hard enough, analyze enough, plan and prepare enough, maybe I can prevent problems. Maybe I can prevent pain. Maybe I can avoid mistakes, avoid rejection, avoid uncertainty. But unfortunately, overthinking can't protect us from the inevitable challenges of real life. Most of the time, overthinking just creates more anxiety because the mind keeps opening up these loops that it can't fully close. So again, this is where mindfulness becomes incredibly helpful. So mindfulness is not about making your mind blank. It's really about being able to observe the mind's habits and recognize when our thoughts go off track. Mindfulness is about learning how to step out of the storm of thinking long enough to reconnect with the present moment. So, what helps? Well, the first thing is learning to notice when you've left the present moment and disappeared into some sort of mental travel. Most overthinking lives in the past or in the future. Very little of it happens here and now. And this is why mindfulness practices often begin with something incredibly simple, the breath. And it's not because breathing is magical, although it can be. And I recommend you check out my interview with Jessica Dibbs, who wrote an amazing book about breath work. I'll post it in the description. But because the breath is always with us, and each new breath happens in this moment. When you bring your attention to the feeling of breathing, you interrupt the endless momentum of thought. And this gives the nervous system a chance to settle. And over time, something really important starts to happen. You begin to realize, I'm not my thoughts. I am the awareness noticing the thoughts. And that distinction is powerful. Because once you can observe a thought, you no longer have to automatically believe it, follow it, or listen to it on repeat. So here's something simple you can try this week. The next time you notice yourself overthinking, pause and ask, what is happening right now in this actual moment? Not 5 hours from now, not tomorrow, not in the imagined conversation you're having in your head, right now. And then gently reconnect with your senses. Just try to notice your feet on the floor, or the feeling, the sensations of breathing in and out. Or just take a minute and notice the sounds around you, or the temperature of the air. When you connect with the present moment through your senses, you're helping the brain return to the present moment instead of staying trapped in some mental projection. And if the mind wanders again, which it will, you simply notice, oh, there's that thought again. And you gently bring your attention back to the present. Again, grounding yourself through the awareness of what's happening in the present moment through our senses. So the practice is simply noticing and then returning again and again and again. I promise you it gets easier with practice. So in closing, if you struggle with overthinking, I hope this helps you feel less alone. Many intelligent, caring, and capable people live with minds that rarely slow down. But you do not need to believe every thought, and you do not need to solve your entire life in one sitting. Sometimes the next step is simply to pause, breathe, notice, and come back to this moment. Because this moment is usually far more manageable than the one the mind is imagining. So thank you for being here. If this video resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe as I continue sharing mindfulness and psychology tools to help you feel calmer, more present, and less overwhelmed. And remember, small moments of awareness can genuinely change the way we experience our lives.